Hi class, for today's experiment, go ahead and go to Google and type in PHET, P-H-E-T, pendulum. Click on the first link, hit play, and click intro. All right, so we're starting our new chapter here, and the chapter is in how to do good experiments. So how do you take good data, how do you interpret that data, and it's going to be really important that for the rest of the year that you know these techniques. So this chapter carries over into several chapters the rest of the school year. Now this is a pendulum. A pendulum is basically this object that swings back and forth, and they used to use pendulums to keep track of time. Now, if I gave you guys a minute and said, what could we change about this pendulum to make it swing back and forth faster or slower, I'm sure you could come up with at least two good things. One of which would probably be the length. So we could make this pendulum really short, or we could make it much longer. We could change the mass, so how heavy that pendulum is. And you could also change whether you release the pendulum from 20 degrees and let it swing, or you maybe release it all the way up here at 83 degrees and go ahead and let that thing swing. So all those may have an effect on how quickly it takes for that pendulum to swing back and forth. And we're going to call that a period. So the time to swing back and forth, one full cycle, is going to be called a period. And it turns out that not all three of those make the pendulum swing faster or slower, meaning that at least one of those is going to have no effect at all. It will not change how long it takes for that pendulum to swing back and forth. And that's going to be your goal today, is to try to figure out which ones have maybe no effect or which ones have a large effect. Now, there are some other things that you could possibly change. Like here in the simulation, you could change the gravity. But I don't want you guys to do that because we can't change that in real life. So we're just going to keep that on Earth. We could change the string in real life, but we're not going to do that here. You could also change the friction in this simulation, but we definitely don't want to do that. So we want to leave that on none. Now, your goal, like I said, is to figure out, out of these three things, which ones have an effect. When you're doing that, make sure you're only changing one thing at a time. So let's say I was changing the length of this pendulum, okay, and I swing this back and forth at 56 degrees. When I change this to maybe testing it at 41 degrees, I definitely don't want to go back and change the mass or change the length. So you're only going to manipulate one thing at a time. Now, when you do this, and you're trying to figure out which one makes the pendulum swing back and forth quicker or slower, let's say we're testing at 31 degrees. If you want, you could use the timer in this program, and what I recommend doing is letting this go back and forth, and then maybe waiting till it gets to the top on the left side, like right here, and then stopping right there. And I got 1.39. And if you need to, you can test it again. So you can go here and stop it. And again, I luckily got 1.39, even though that's pretty rare. You're not going to get the exact same number each time. If you want, you can make it go really slow. It's going to take you a little bit longer, but it's easier to time. So if you want to go slow motion, that's also an option for you. Okay. How you want to get data is up to you. We're leaving this totally open-ended. If you want to test 2 string lengths or 4 string lengths or 8 string lengths, that's up to you. If you want to, test 1 string length 2 or 3 times, it's up to you. Your goal is just to take whatever it might be, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes to get enough data so that you can see whether the changing of the length, the mass, or the angle actually has an effect on how quickly it takes for that pendulum to swing back and forth. After you guys are done, you guys will submit it, and then we're going to go through as a class and figure out who did a good job and what things we could do to improve for the next time we do this experiment. Just to save some time, you are only required to test 2 things. I would like everyone to do the length. So everyone has to change the length and figure out the period, and then you get to choose to change the mass, or if you don't want to change the mass, you can change the angle. So to save some time, you only have to test those 2, but one of them has to be length. Do your best. If you have any questions, let us know. And we would just like you to put your data on a sheet of paper, on one side of a sheet of paper, and maybe make a note of which one you believe has the greater effect on the period of a pendulum, and in the directions in Canvas or somehow, we will let you know how we want you to submit your data. Have fun and enjoy. Thanks.